Welcome back to Blue Jay Bonsai. And in today's episode, we're going to be working on a Podocarpus, also known as a Buddhist pine, and sometimes known as a Japanese yew, even though it's not in the yew family. I got this Podocarpus back in January when we visited the Bonsai Guru. And although part of the name implies that it has large leaves, this is the Maki variety, which has much smaller leaves. It's really nice. I was also trying to figure out why the name means feet fruit or foot fruit, but I think I figured it out. So let's get back to the work at hand. I've already removed about half of the roots that I had found when I removed the tree from the pot. And here I'm just trying to do some of the final pruning to clean up some of the larger and more irregular roots. And of course the old patented flat root-based detection system. And I guess that wasn't quite flat enough because I'm going to continue removing roots from the very bottom, especially these crossing ones. And my new little brass rake really does a great job of combing the roots out radially without ripping them to shreds with sharp points. So one more time on the flat root-based detector, and we have a winner. So on to a bit of trimming. And with those obvious little branches out of the way, we can check on our progress with the Carnage Cam. So what I hadn't revealed so far is what I was planning on doing for a design. And it's actually a Cascade. Now this is the only Cascade pot that I actually have. It's a little too big, I think, for this tree, but I'm going to use it anyways. So as usual, we start out with adding a drainage screen. And in this case, I'm adding a few tie-down wires. I don't usually do this, but since it is a Cascade, I think there's more of a chance of the tree falling out of the pot. Or more likely, me knocking it out of the pot. Let's be honest. I'm going to use the leftover soil to fill the bottom part of the container, or as much as I can. It's really good stuff. It's the official Bonsai Guru Bonsai Mix. And I'll use my regular Nigel Saunders original recipe to fill up the rest of this tall Cascade pot. I try out a few different planting angles. Before deciding on more of an upright angle, and then proceeding to wire everything in place. My wires were just a little too long, and it made things a little bit more difficult for getting them started. But that's easily corrected by snipping them off. And of course, the tip that I was given, and I'll pass on, is to make sure that you pull up when you twist. Otherwise, if you just keep twisting in place, you're just going to snap the wire. After everything is in place, I just like to trim the wires back a little bit so they're not so long, and then very carefully and safely use my thumb to push them into place instead of a tool. And now's the part of the video where I tell you it is not sponsored by Mikey, but I'm trying hard. I figure if I use enough of this stuff, someone's got to take notice. So with the mycorrhiza all on the roots, we can fill up the last bit of the pot with a bit more of our bonsai soil. And the old patented chopstick comes out. Try and work everything into the roots and to make sure that we have no air pockets. So before going any farther and working on the tree, we're going to give it a good watering with our little blue Haas can. Tom from Grow and Clip Bonsai for Seniors recommends watering it before you do your pruning, or wiring in this case, as it helps to stabilize the tree in the pot. So let's just take a little spin and see where we are at before we start with wiring. So I like to test the thickness of my wire by seeing if the wire will move the branch or if the branch moves the wire. This is definitely not a wiring how-to. I would definitely call this more practical wiring than show wiring or exhibit wiring. And thank goodness that the Toronto Bonsai Society is holding a workshop on wiring techniques coming up for us beginners in the club. So I'm really looking forward to that, to get some more knowledge and hands-on practice with one of the senior members who's teaching the class. But for now, let's suffer through with my amateur techniques. And one of the reasons I picked out this particular tree when I was at the Bonsai Guru was indeed because it had these two really nice long branches. And I knew for sure that I would definitely use one of them to do some kind of a cascade or semi-cascade. So I just bend the branch backwards and forwards to try and add a little bit of movement into it.
You've got those quick eyes, those shutterflies, it's no surprise. I see right through. You've got the rhythm of the night sky every time you walk in the room. Some rivers never reach the ocean, but how you cry, I swear that they do.
So with such a long, thin, and flexible branch, I knew I'd have the opportunity to try out something a little crazy. So after my little twisty 360, I decide to make the very top of the apex pointing down. And now it's time to do something with this little branch that you see here on the left. If I was to leave it, it would be a bar branch with the cascading branch on the other side. So it definitely has to go, but instead of just chopping it off as normal, I thought it'd be fun to maybe add a little gin. So I start by scoring the bark around the base of the branch to make sure that when I start peeling the bark off, it doesn't go too far and start ripping into the trunk. A few squeezes with a handy pair of pliers, and a few twists, and pulls, leaves us with a cute little gin. So now I start to work my way up the trunk and looking for any of the branches that I can remove before I start wiring any of the secondary branches. I didn't want to do this initially because I knew that I'd be twisting the trunk around, so wherever I left a curve, I could cut the branch off if it was inside a curve afterwards. I didn't want to cut it off first, only to find out later that my movement had accidentally left a branch on the inside of a curve, only to have to cut it off. There's a few small branches on the front of the trunk, so those definitely need to come off as they obscure your view. And I also tried to eliminate any future bar branching. I also take this opportunity to readjust the apex so it's pointing forward a little bit more, making the tree more inviting for the viewer. And on the cascade branch, I proceed to do wiring on the secondary branches. And since, as I said, I'm not qualified to give a wiring tutorial, we're going to jump right ahead to the finished product. I think it looks pretty cool, and over time as it grows and thickens, and we start to add some tertiary branches, I think it could be a pretty cool little tree. And don't forget to check out my friend Carlos on Bonsai Yeah. His interview with me will be on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And now it's time for Subscribers Picks. If you'd like to see your photos of your trees, bonsai or pre-bonsai on the channel, then send us an email with your name, the name and species of your tree, and any other interesting information. The legendary Matt Brennan sent us this photo of one of his Scheffleras. He's had it in training for 4 years. It's looking fantastic, Matt. Subscriber pick regular Gidrus sent us this picture of his little mame bonsais. He's especially proud of this little jade growing inside of a rock. The second trunk started from just a leaf. Colin, the not-so-idiotic Boston bonsai idiot, sent us these pictures of his forsythia, or as my UK friends would say, forsythia. These guys are beautiful. Eric, a newcomer to bonsai, but longtime gardener, sent us these pictures of some of his trees. He's been inspired by Nigel originally, and a little bit of me lately, I hope. Most of his trees are from tropical expressions. Maybe we'll bump into you there, Eric. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.